You are listening to The Robert Scott Bell Show.
These days, it's more important than ever to know where our food and supplements come from. That's why, at Plus CBD Oil, we believe it is critical to manage every step of the supply chain process. It all starts with certified hemp seeds. Our hemp grows tall, like bamboo, and is harvested within 3 months. After harvest, the hemp is dried and sent to our CO2 extraction facility, where our raw formula is extracted. The extracted oil is then lawfully imported to our state-of-the-art in-house laboratory in San Diego, California. There, we convert our raw formula into our total plant complex and gold formula oils. Our oils are then used to formulate our award-winning Plus CBD oil product line. The products are then tested for cannabinoid content and the absence of harmful substances. But we go one step further. We then send our products to a third-party laboratory to verify concentration, quality, and safety. After that, the products have finished their journey and are ready to be shipped to your local health food store. Because at Plus CBD Oil, we believe how you do anything is how you do everything. That's why, from seed to shelf, we are committed to providing safe and effective hemp CBD products for you and your loved ones. It's our promise to you. Learn more about our commitment to full traceability at pluscbdoil.com.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.
I listen to get accurate, up-to-date information.
I've learned so much from him.
It is awesome. It's the best entertainment that I've found.
You rock the health world. Keep it up. I love you.
Now, the voice of health, freedom, and liberty, here's Robert Scott Bell.
Obviously, with a 90+% effective vaccine, you could feel much more confident. But I would recommend to people to not abandon all public health measures just because you've been vaccinated. Because even though for the general population it might be 90 to 95% effective, you don't necessarily know for you how effective it is. So when I get vaccinated, which I hope to when it becomes my turn to get vaccinated, I'm not going to abandon completely public health measures. I could feel more relaxed and essentially not having the stringency of it that we have right now. But I think abandoning it completely would not be a good idea.
So when does it end? When does it end? You put the mask on. When does Fauci give you permission to take it off? If there's any reason at all you can find for Trump to win, should win, and will win, it's fire Fauci. Did you notice in that opening clip of Fauci going, yeah, 90, 95% effect, it's still not enough, because even though we could say it has this impact over this, we don't know how it will impact you. Oh, did you hear that? What does that mean? Oh, I'm getting a little excited because it means that you can use that against Fauci or anybody. For those who say vaccines are safe and effective, or just vaccines are safe. Oh, but Fauci says you don't know for sure if it's going to do what to you. They just acknowledged our argument, which is not collectivist, but acknowledging the individual unique creation that you are and your body is and your child's body is, and you don't know. As he's pointing out, you don't know if it's going to be working for you. But worse is you don't know if it's going to kill you. You don't know if you're going to be that 1 in a million rare case that Fauci says, oh, it's rare. And suddenly, when it works, the claim, 90 to 95% of the time, but still wear a mask, still distance, forever. Don't go to Thanksgiving. Find out if he's going to cancel Christmas next. But don't think about the adverse events. Tested against what? Inert placebo? No, a meningitis vaccine. Don't even consider, though, their claims of 90, 95% efficacy are not based on a study design that would tell us anything about preventing what they call the most severe hospital-worthy manifestations of COVID, much less the risk of death. Let's not point out the fallacy if they claim that it will prevent those severe cases or deaths, because there is no study design that we have found, that Peter Doshi has found and reported on in the British Medical Journal, that is even designed to look for reduction or elimination of transmission of the so-called virus that they're all scratching their heads on going, we don't understand. It's spreading everywhere. Everybody's testing positive. Well, stop testing. Because 99.995% of the people, it basically doesn't matter. But everything is COVID now. Every symptom, every ailment, cough, breathing, lack of smell, taste, etc. Things that have happened for time immemorial when you have what they call viral diseases, colds and flus, normal stuff. And now, no, it's only COVID. Until the vaccine comes out that has not been tested adequately for safety, much less real efficacy for the things you would say if you want a vaccine, you'd want it to be able to do. Stop the severe cases, stop the transmission. None of that's tested. So what are they 90 to 95% successful in? Preventing mild cases. I mean, that's the study design. If they're claiming it, is that actually true? Is the statement been peer reviewed and published? No. These are just public relations communiques. Great news. Everybody get the vaccine. Go to Drudge Report, which has been purchased by Drudge. Now it's a leftist, collectivist, liberal rag. And you got 60% of the respondents going, yep, we'll get the vaccine. You moronic liberals. If you want it, go ahead. Take yourself out. I'm not arguing that you should. I don't want anybody to take it because it's a disaster, if not initially, then on a secondary or tertiary exposure. Because previous tests on vaccines for coronaviruses, particularly with this mRNA technology, set up for what? Pathogenic priming. You may get even an antibody response. Are they binding antibodies? Which ones are they? Well, the next round, when you expose yourself to whatever, suddenly it's devastating. And this is what they're not testing for. You're going to be the guinea pig. 60% of Drudge Report readers now. That's not that. There's nothing to be proud of, nothing to brag about. So let's go back to this Fauci part 2. And I think it's Jake Tapper that was interviewing this guy. And at the end, it's not bad enough that they're trying to tell you you can't have Thanksgiving with your loved ones. They're probably coming after Christmas as well. How you feeling about that? Anybody got a problem with that?
We've got to get the vaccine. It's got to be deployed, and we can't abandon fundamental public health measures. You can approach a degree of normality while still doing some fundamental public health things that synergize with the vaccine to get us back to normal.
So not until the second or third quarter of 2021, though. Christmas is probably not going to be possible.
Yeah,
Christmas is not going to be. Was he struggling to just say it? You can't have Christmas. Fauci, the Grinch who stole Christmas. Fauci, the Grinch who stole Thanksgiving, along with Democrat and Rhino Republican governors, despite the fact that they have no authority to ban your get-togethers, your gatherings in your home with friends and family. Oh, and don't even get me started on the hypocrisy of what's going on here. We've got that too. The vaccine won't be enough to stop it at 90 to 95% efficacy? Then what the hell is it for? I'm sorry. What is it for? How many of you would comply? How many of you are wearing masks already? They got you, don't they? And Fauci says you can't take it off, even with a vaccine that they claiming has now what, 94.9? What is it? 90? It's like 90 was yesterday. Now it's up to 94.9.
The Moderna is 94.5.
94.5. And what's the status on pathogenic priming? Ooh, that's not in the analysis. What's the status of preventing Superdon, the most severe? Oh, hey, that's not in the analysis. Preventing death. How about transmission? Not in the analysis. We successfully intervened and prevented 90 to 95% of you from having mild symptoms. Who cares about mild symptoms? And from what? Well, the PCR test says it was from the COVID, the Chinese virus, or whatever you want to call it. All right, here's the show notes today. Y'all want to check this out. We got a lot to cover. Man, too many stories, Superdon. We're going to try our level best to get to them all. And as we go through Fauci forever masks, the vaccine not being enough, Newsom, Governor Newsom out of California, his hypocrisy. Then we'll have Lauren Ameling and Jace Broadhurst from the Trinity School of Natural Health. There's a new program I want to talk about. It's a biblical health coach program. And we'll talk to Jace about it. I've got a little clip we'll play at the bottom of the hour, too, before it'll lead into it. Special guest, Lauren Ameling. She's terrific, and she's also a doctor of chiropractic. And we'll talk about the lectures on demand, including the Clinical Homeopathy 101 Plus. And then the piece de resistance in hour 2. Face masks make you stupid. Nope, we're not pulling any punches anymore. And you're going to hear from a mom, hide the kids, but a mom who's like the mama bears should be. And where are the daddy bears? You want to see outrage? You want to see righteous indignation and anger to the almost extent of veins busting out of your. We need to get to that level of outrage in order to achieve the next phase of this, is to shut down and stop this globalist, communist, socialist, collectivist takeover of the United States of America and the rest of the planet via the germ theory. Which is why if you haven't taken courses from Trinity School of Natural Health or even my lecture on demand, you're missing out on some of the things that will help you to see through this garbage. And of course, my lecture that I gave at the Trinity Health Freedom Expo, we'll find out that I think it's true that even if you didn't attend it remotely, you can still sign up and you'll have about now 5 months or so to watch everything that happened. And there's so many great lectures, including one on 5G that Paul Bertero and I did. And then I did one on the COVID crazy scenario, as we talked about before. So let's see. From there, let me see what else is in the lineup here. Here's the 90% effective claim. I think it's gone up since then. But Children's Health Defense is publishing this article about Pfizer vaccine claiming 90% effectivity. But guess what, folks? It's not substantiated through the peer-reviewed medical review, peer review process, and not even the World Health Organization. It's not substantiated. It's just a claim. It's like, we just said it. And guess what? The sycophants in the media, vaccine sycophants in the media, not even questioning it. Imagine if we said, for a moment, echinacea, 90% effective at da-da-da-da, and you maybe boosting the immune system to help you overcome it. It'd be probably true if you have the right form of echinacea. But if it was said, oh man, would there be a backlash, not only from the mainstream media that's pharmaceutically conflicted, but FDA, FTC, on it would go. How about selenium? We have tracked study after study for decades here on the Robert Scott Bell Show, showing how it is, as Dr. Bitar likes to say, birth control for viruses. If you're worried about viral causation, we dispute that, but okay, exosomes, whatever. Selenium, we've shown it in the context of this COVID crazy year as well, not just Ebola and other viruses or exosomes. How about if we said silver? is virostatic, and 95% of the time, 99% of the time, if it comes into contact and it has the active ions there, like the bioactive silver hydrosol, it could stop a virus from replicating if you're worried about it. It can also enhance immunity. And it'd be true. It'd be factual. But it wouldn't be satisfactual for FDA, FTC, and the mainstream media. They would pounce on it. And yet, the only organization out there pushing back right now, other than some new media, children'shealthdefense.org. Pfizer vaccine. It's unsubstantiated. The claims of 90%, much less 94%. 48 under clinical evaluation now. This is the one. Pfizer's getting all the play. By the way, Pfizer, felonious Pfizer, has violated the law so many times they've paid billions of dollars in fines. I don't think they've arrested any one of the people working at Pfizer. One of the largest drug companies in the world. It said it excluded itself from Operation Warp Speed, so it didn't get taxpayer funds, apparently, like Moderna, J&J, AstraZeneca. But they got plenty of money from the German government, so they didn't have to come to the Americans hat in hand. Protocols are problematic as far as these tests that they've conducted. So what we've been told is that more than 90% of effective in preventing COVID-19 without prior evidence of SARS, so-called CoV-2 exposure. A link to the study design, updated. They kind of, I think they caught on to the fact that we were on to them, and they tried to monkey the design, apparently, after the fact. 42%, I mean, it goes through a lot of bullet points here. No serious safety concerns have been observed, which doesn't mean that they haven't been observed. They have been. But they basically say, no, that wasn't really it. I was caused by the placebo. What was the placebo? Meningitis vaccine. Clearest statements in the disclosure notice and commentary on forward-looking statements at the end of the release that appear to be directed at the stock market. That's right, what we said, to boost the stock. Stock jumped, and guess who sold a ton of it? One of the guys that made all that profit was one of the guys that claiming the 90% effectivity. It's incredible. What else do we need to know about the interim results? The number of people in the vaccinated or placebo groups who were exposed to it. The demographic information. What were the outcome parameters of effectiveness? What were they using to determine it? Was it a lack of mild symptoms? Was it antibodies? What was going on here? How serious was the manifestation of COVID-19 in the equivalent vaccinated and placebo groups? I mean, there's a lot of questions we have here. John Rappaport and I have been covering it ever since Peter Doshi published the fact that the study designs were, well, they were going to fail by definition at determining what you thought you needed if you believe in this COVID crazy scam for a vaccine to do, which would be what? Prevent the most severe cases that would lead to hospitalization and death and stop transmission. None of which is in the study designs. This is a problem, not for them, because apparently the mainstream media are too stupid or compliant. Talk about compliance. They're all wearing muzzles and have for years. They've got stuff stuck in their ears, probably the cotton from the pill bottles that Big Pharma sends them for free. Put them right in their ears so they can't hear any information that would contradict the public relations, the PR companies, and what they're saying you have to do. Or what they're saying their vaccines will do. This is why the First Amendment was written. For those of us to speak out against those who have undue influence over the media, the mainstream, what we call corporate media, and undue influence over our government agencies themselves and the people elected, in fact, that get so much Big Pharma money. Remember, Big Pharma lobbies 2-1 over the second biggest, Big Oil. And we talk about big war. Pharmaceutical industrial complex, they do it surreptitiously. Probably kill more people every year than the military industrial complex. If you've looked at the stats we've covered in the peer-reviewed medical journals, as little as 106,000 to 225,000, upwards of 784,000 Americans every year. That's just in the United States of America. Over 750,000 people perish due to the medical monopoly. Is there any reason why we need to learn what our ancestors knew about natural medicine, the medicine of creation? And we talk about even in the Bible, it talks and discusses what? All the plants, the gifts of creation can be used as medicine. And it's the very thing our government, in violation, once again, of the First Amendment, our government says, no, you can't say that. You cannot say that. We all need to be operating under a ministry of some kind, a healing ministry. Although they're attacking churches, synagogues. They're attacking all religions, people of faith. This is an attack on your fundamental rights to believe and worship as you see fit. The COVID crazy, they want you in their church, the Church of Pharmaceutical Mysticism, the vaccine denomination or religion they're in. It's a cult. It's a cult. Who else is in it? China's own Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom. The man who wants to say, cancel Thanksgiving in California. He apparently went out to a party and violated his own virus rules. Governor Gavin Newsom, China's own. He acknowledged Friday he attended a birthday party with a dozen friends on November 6th at the posh French Laundry restaurant in wine country north of San Francisco. Now, if you think this is like a bar and grill at a laundromat, think again. How many bar and grills near a laundromat have you ever gone that charge $350 per person to eat dinner? Am I making this up? On governor's salary, the 3-star Michelin restaurant has maintained its $350 per person tasting menu, and it includes a $450 per person menu for parties up to 12 people. And apparently you have to pay in advance on a governor's salary. Who's really paying this guy? If you can go out for a $350 to $450 meal, oh yeah, that's a man of the people, a man of the Chinese people, right? This is what happens in communism, folks. The elite ruling class do not obey the same edicts, prohibitions, and mandates that they have for you and me. Remember George Carlin? They're all in a club and you're not in it. I'm not in it. We're not in it. So keep wearing your masks. We're only doing it to help you, to protect you. Take the vaccine that we say is 100%, it's 150% effective now. No peer review. It doesn't matter. We said it. The media is going to say it. It's true. Fauci says it. Biden will say it. Kamala Harris will say it. Dude, fight hard in the courts for Trump to expose the corruption. There is no way he lost this election fairly. Just going to add that into the mix. I'm convinced more and more every moment of the day. A couple other stories here real quick before we've got, again, great couple of guests, Lauren Ameling and Jace Broadhurst from Trinity School of Natural Health, going to join us talking about stuff where you'll be able to go, I can take a deep breath. Let's talk about good things, empowering things, educational things. It's going to be awesome. So looking forward to that. But coming back to the opening clip, or opening clips, if you will, social distancing, masks still necessary after getting the COVID-19 vaccine. That's Fauci. And those are the clips we played. So these are actual New York Post articles covering this story. He says, I can feel more relaxed in essentially not having the stringency that we have right now, but I think abandoning it completely would not be a good idea, which is what I've been saying. If you listen to the globalist elites like Fauci, Bill Gates, World Health Organization, there will never be a time in the future that they will let you take off your mask. Not that they ever have the authority to make you wear one, but the point is compliance. In an hour or two, I'm going to go into that. Well, I'll have more time to go into masks make you stupid. This is about compliance. It has nothing, I repeat, nothing to do with preventing mosquitoes coming through your chain link fence, aka viruses, exosomes spewing right through things that are that big relative to their size. As far as making it through a mask. Not that I'm giving the causation hypothesis credence, because it isn't credent, if that's a word. But we have even more on the subject matter. The WHO chief communist from the World Health Organization says the vaccine will not be enough to stop the pandemic. Let me ask that dude, what pandemic? Show me the all-cause mortality stats in country by country by country that shows a spike, a significant spike in the calendar year 2020 over previous years' all-cause mortality. The more information that comes in on that, it looks like they've renamed flu and pneumonia and heart attacks, and on it goes. We covered over the year how many people got hit by a bus or whatever, and the bus driver had COVID. You got it too. You died from COVID. How much economic incentive? And these are the things they were banning and censoring and catering and trying to remove licenses from doctors who actually pointed this out. Who's part of it? The American Medical Association. That's right. The private trade group that doesn't represent, but what, 20, 30% of all doctors, if that, at this point? You've got the leftist collectivist Democrats also arguing for reducing in D.C., the council there, reducing the age of consent for vaccination to 11, which would lead to what? Oh, if they're old enough at 11 to consent for vaccines without parental permission or knowledge, what else can you argue that child could consent to? Yes, very evil things. We must bring God and Spirit back into our lives in every facet of our reality, including and especially politics. And that's not me arguing for a theocracy. No, our founders were smarter than that. They realized they didn't want one church, one religion, one whatever. It was about the freedom to worship. Everybody could worship as they were instructed by their Creator, by their God, by what they perceived and believed it to be. And you couldn't use the government to violate another's religious beliefs, even if you disagreed with them, because this is the great place where people flock to. Yeah, for a lot of elements of freedom, but spiritual freedom. One of the most highest, if I could say it that way, highest ideals of our founders. The First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Guess what, y'all? Many people of faith have abandoned their faith because of their fear of the invisible. The germs that they say are going to kill you just by breathing. And what are we teaching our children now? Every day, more stories of little kids afraid to go out. Or if they do go out and their mask comes off, they're in sheer terror because now they believe that they could kill somebody or they themselves could die. How is this in any way, shape, or form a godly thing to be obeying or complying with? A secular mandate to mask you. I call it a satanic masking ritual. I shall not and will not participate in it. And in hour 2, you'll hear from a mom who's had it, fed up, and we need more moms and dads to get fed up because they will never let you take the mask off if you put it on and keep it on, as they're now saying. Even the vaccine at 90 to 95% is not enough. When will it be enough? It's never enough. They want cattle. They want sheeple. But not here, not now, not ever, not on the Robert Scott Bell Show. This is the place for health, freedom, and healing liberty. This is the place where I remind you of your spiritual origin point. And I know everybody's got a different perspective on it. That's okay. I respect that because you are created as an individual, not as a collective mush. And you have an individual relationship with the Most Holy. And I always encourage you to find out how to connect and reconnect and strengthen that connection, recognizing that everybody's got different perspectives on it. But if you focus on the Bible, we're going to find out about a course that'll help you read it, learn about it. Jace Broadhurst is going to be joining us in a moment, too. We're going to take a quick break here, introduce you to that course on the bottom of the hour break through Trinity School of Natural Health. Then we'll bring Jace and Lauren Ameling into the mix, and we'll talk about that and more. If you have questions or comments, Super Don will monitor the feed. Please share the show. Give us a thumbs up. If you'd like to support us even more, Patreon. Be a patron of the Robert Scott Bell Show. We got a big Ask Me Anything coming up on the 30th, the final Monday of November. So before they cancel Christmas. Not here. Anyway, y'all, hope you're having a good time. I know it's intense, but there's a lot of intensity coming on. I'm hopefully helping you see through it. And it's not my courage. It's the courage of my connection to that which created me and that which created all of us. Reconnect there and you will have no fear. There's no room for fear when you have that love and faith in God. So thanks for being here. Stand by. We got a lot more healing to go on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Check out this new course available through Trinity School of Natural Health.
Hey, I'm Dr. Jace Broadhurst. I'm teaching a class called Scriptural Foundations. It's a class on hermeneutics. I'm sure that's helpful to you. Hermeneutics. Hermeneutics is the art and the science of interpretation. And in this particular class, we're talking about interpretation of Scripture. How do we understand this divine and human book? Should we be looking at it as a human book or as something sacred that comes from God specifically dropped down into our hands? What do we do with this book, and how does it apply to our lives? What's going on here? So we're going to talk about general hermeneutics questions, like how does history work into Scripture? Is it literal? Is it figurative? Is it absolute or relative? These kinds of big picture questions we're going to talk about. And then we're going to get to more special hermeneutics, which is genre studies. What's the difference between poetry and prose? And of course you know that, but when it comes to Scripture, how do you understand Proverbs differently than law or prophecy? Or how about apocalyptic? What do we do with these end of the world kinds of scenarios in Revelation? We're going to talk about all those things. This class is called Spiritual Applications. It follows Spiritual Foundations, which is how to understand Scripture. With this, how do we apply Scripture? What do we do with this book that we consider to be sacred, divine, and human? How do we apply it to our lives? Specifically in two areas. The first area in this is our spiritual disciplines. You know, we have a lot of disciplines in our life. Maybe you do push-ups every day or crunches, or you work out the body, and maybe some of you read every evening because you want to keep that going, or doing Sudoku or something like that to keep your mind in the right place. Well, spiritually, we should be doing the same thing. And there are spiritual disciplines of the Christian life that have been around for centuries. Prayer is one of those. Worship, confession, celebration, right? These kinds of things. How about fasting? What do we do with fasting? Is it just for our abs? Or is there some spiritual part of this? Simplicity, right? These issues, even Bible study, these kinds of things are things that we should be thinking about to discipline ourselves as Christians. The second part of this class is how do we deal with stress? So how do we apply Scripture to the stressful areas in our life? I don't know about you, but money sometimes stresses me out. How about marriage? Parenting? Dealing with children? How are you supposed to parent? Well, the Bible has something to say about this. And there's some things it doesn't have to say, and we'll talk about both of those things. But how about things like natural disaster? This God who loves us allows these things to happen? How about pandemics? Is it the end of the world? Is that how we're supposed to be thinking about these things? We'd love for you to join this class, to learn a little bit about that, to think more deeply about these issues. Maybe not to get all the answers, but to have a conversation about what Scripture does for us and how we should be applying it.
Well, that looks like a great new program there at Trinity School of Natural Health. To discuss it now is the guy you just saw talking about it, Jace Broadhurst, as well as our good friend Lauren Ameling from Trinity School of Natural Health. Welcome to you both. It's good to see you.
Thanks so much. Good to see you, Robert.
So, Lauren, this is a new offering. You've been doing a lot of the education there, and I think this is a timely course, but it's not new in a sense because the history of Trinity School, the stuff was there.
Absolutely. As a Christian-based organization, we have always leaned on biblical teaching for the full mind, body, spirit aspect of holistic health. But this is the first time since the days of Dr. Wendell Whitman, our founder, that we've had a full program dedicated to biblical studies.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Jace, to the mix. And this is something that's not new for you, perhaps, but maybe it's just putting it or massaging the coursework into an 8-week kind of container through Trinity for people to take remotely. And I'm thinking, I think people really need to know how to interpret this stuff. But the controversy, of course, is everybody's got their own view of it. How do you navigate those waters?
Yeah, you're right. That's very much been the difficulty. The classes that I'm teaching here, I've taught a little bit before, hermeneutics and some application courses and things like that. But, in seminary classes. So they're like 30 hours.
Stand by. We'll get them back on. I don't know what happened. It glitched. Let me do a reconnect here. See if we can get them back on.
Shorter. And so, everyone has a different interpretation. Of course, the Bible is the sacred text written by God and by man, and we all see it differently. That's all these different denominations that are out there. So my job isn't to tell people what to believe, but maybe to ask the right questions. Hermeneutics is one of the courses in this program, and that just means interpretation. So we're all interpreting it differently. But it's about asking what are the right questions here? Should we be asking, is the earth 6,000 years old, or is Genesis asking a different kind of question? So once they ask those questions, then they start to see some of those answers a little bit more clearly.
I think, context is important. Like, you're putting perspectives, because people either dismiss or jump headlong in without putting historical context into the words written when they were written and original root word meaning. I find that that's often lacking. And if we don't go into a study and learn basic definitions, then we're all reinterpreting and misinterpreting things every moment that we read the Bible, perhaps.
Absolutely. I mean, let's be honest. We misinterpret things all the time, just our regular conversations with one another. If I wink at you, you have to determine whether I'm flirting with you or I'm telling you a joke, right? And husbands and wives, it's all about that all the time. So this interpretation thing, yeah. But certainly, you mentioned history, the context of the history and the grammar. So we spend a lot of time talking about what's called grammatico-historical interpretation, which are the two things that you just brought up. We've got to look at the words, and we've got to look at the context in the ancient Near East. That's the time of the Old Testament, or the Greco-Roman culture, the time of the New Testament. And we've got to figure out, are they speaking to us? A lot of us come to this text and they think, all right, we're just going to find a verse and it's going to apply to us and everything's going to be great. And that's not exactly how it's supposed to be. It's written to a particular group of people at a particular time. And it's a lot of work sometimes to get the application correct for us in our modern times.
Jace, at the risk of revealing something you don't want to reveal about the coursework, and Lauren brought this up on the break, it's like, what about health and healing and pandemics and medicine and all of that? Is there anything said about stuff like that people of faith could probably return to, maybe to get past this insanity?
Absolutely, yeah. So the first course is, all this hermeneutics and interpretation kind of stuff, the context of Scripture. The second course is about spiritual disciplines, prayer and reading the Bible and maybe journaling or simplicity or those kinds of things. But it also has this whole back, like 2 whole sections, maybe 3 or 4 hours, I don't even know, Lauren, a bunch on how do you deal with stress in the world? So like you just mentioned, pandemics, right? We've been talking about this. Do we wear the mask or not we wear the mask? Now, I'm not going to get too far into the weeds with that like you are. But yes. I'm going to say, what does the Bible have to say about this? Does it talk about pandemics? Does it talk about how we should respond to authority? What does it mean to love our neighbor? Those kinds of questions.
Jace, I'm seeing what I perceive, and I'm no biblical scholar, but a misinterpretation of that famous Romans quote, like never before, because I perceive, and again, we don't have to get in the weeds on it, but masking people to me is a horrific thing, especially children, that seems to be anything but godly in what we're teaching our kids, to fear one another, to fear each other, fear themselves as vectors for disease and death. I don't recall anything in my upbringing that would support that kind of teaching.
Yeah, well, the Bible doesn't say much about that, but you're right. Romans definitely says to submit to our authorities, and you're saying it's being used out of context. Of course it is. Like, this is what we do, right? We grab verses that we want to support our particular view, and it's done. But hermeneutics is about reading the whole thing in context and figuring that out. Sometimes you do obey your authorities, and then other times you stand against your authorities. There's passages in Scripture. Peter stood up against his authorities, didn't obey what. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not the person, maybe you are, I don't know. I'm not the person to make those kinds of decisions. My job is to take care of the literature and to show what I think the literature, like what Paul thought we should be thinking about these things, or what Peter thought.
Yeah, I think about biblical interpretation. Again, it can be a mess, and I think anybody that teaches context could help, get us beyond some of these wrong interpretations that I think are harming our culture, our Judeo-Christian culture in the United States right now, where we have given over to a false God or false authority over our health, our lives, and our belief in what makes us even be alive. And that would include, of course, the breath of life itself, but also the things that God created that are in us all the time. There are more microbes in us than we have cells in our so-called human or animal bodies.
Yeah, that's definitely an area for you and for Lauren to talk. Yeah, the science and the health kinds of stuff. You guys are definitely way smarter on that kind of stuff than I'm. I read a lot of science, but I try not to put it into my stuff. But yeah, I mean, certainly we throw in things into the Scripture all the time. And we talk about that in there. in, right now we're hearing on the news all the time, there's a vaccine or something that's happening, and there's going to be, a micro disc or something that's going to be put into the vaccine that's going to go into our bodies. And, it's going to be the sign of Satan or the sign of the beast, 666 and all that. And it's just such a ridiculous, sorry. Well, you're pretty outspoken, so I guess I can be kind of,
yeah, let it out, man.
It's such a faulty understanding of what's going on, for instance, in the book of Revelation and Daniel, and what they're designed to do during their time. And we try to put those on today and grab these verses again. We grab these little verses, and it's just so unfair to the author.
Well, I do have strong beliefs in the mark, if you will, and how it plays itself out in terms of preventing what they called it, intercourse. It wasn't that sexually. It was talking about economic, right? Talking about the ability to buy and sell, that kind of thing. Sure. And we've seen things like the numerically numbering people like cattle. To me, that's an offense against our Creator to do these things. And I know everybody's got their different interpretation of it, so I don't get mad at people if they believe differently than me, but also the respect in how we interpret things. And I think we only get a deeper understanding if we're willing to engage intellectually in not only discussion, but spirited debate, much less the education that you're bringing to the table. And the word of the day, hermeneutics. It almost sounds like something else, but hermeneutics, that's a cool name.
Yeah. We could definitely agree to disagree on some of this stuff. I'm sure we would. And I love that. Taking this class, they're going to disagree with me. That's fine. As long as they come with some humility and say, okay, you've been studying this for a little while. The mark of the beast or the economic financial system that you're talking about. I think the book of Revelation is written for its particular people at its particular time and says very little about our future. So that's how apocalyptic genre works at the time. But you might disagree with me on that. That's fine. But at least you'll be able to hear, here's the other side. The academic guild has generally, there's a consensus in how we understand apocalyptic literature. Doesn't mean everybody agrees, but there's a consensus.
No, listen, I dig it. Totally dig it. And it's like, for me, when we come to points of disagreement, I think we can learn a lot from each other, not by yelling and screaming, but by let's talk about that context. And I think we all come away, in my opinion, my experience has been better for it. So let me bring Lauren into the mix. Lauren Ameling, also in education for Trinity School of Natural Health. This is, again, as you said, an old but new edition based on founder Wendell Whitman's vision, which is exciting to see that come back into play here. How do you see this fit into those that are already taking health coach programs or other programs or maybe not taking any and saying, maybe this is how I want to enter Trinity?
Yeah. So I love everything that Jace put together, especially in that second 4-week course that's all what the Bible says about. We have so many strong believers at Trinity, and they always want those passages that support ways to deal with people who are going through stressors. I mean, people really share with their practitioners and kind of open up and spill out what's going on in their lives. And they always look for different ways that they can support them with scripture. So Jace covers everything in that course: child stress, parental stress, spousal stress, money stress, health issues, overcoming loss. And he supports the biblical perspective on all those things. So I think it turned out to be a really great program.
Well, I'm thrilled that we've got this edition for those folks that are drawn into it. And that's why we played the clip at the bottom of the hour with Jace explaining it better than I could even, interview you about this little aspects of it. But that's why I wanted to set the stage for people to understand. If you just tuned in, you can go back, rewind later or whatever, and see the bottom of the hour break. We actually played like a 3-minute clip of you describing the course, the program, Jason. It sounds like it's a great addition to Trinity School of Natural Health Education. And, it probably would fit in for those people of faith. How do we then look at aspects of health and healing that will impact what they're doing with these other courses?
Absolutely.
Excellent. All right, Jace, that's great. Welcome to the family of Trinity officially now with this coursework. And you said it's 8-week. There's 4-week and 4-week module, right?
Absolutely. And the interesting thing about this program is if you are a person who's not necessarily a practitioner, you can just take the first 4 weeks to learn how to study and interpret the Bible. Of course, the second 4 weeks can absolutely be applied to your own life. So even if you don't intend to work with it to coach somebody in a client practitioner setting, you can absolutely go through either of the 4-week courses or just the first 4 weeks. So lots of interesting things to learn over that 8-week period.
Jace Broadhurst, anything else you want to share about it before we transition? We got a lot to talk about what's happening at Trinity.
Oh no, I think you've done a great job in pulling the right stuff out of me. It's been my pleasure to do this. Thank you, Lauren, Julie, and everybody for letting me be a part of this. It's been very cool.
Very cool. Well, it's so great to connect with you, and congratulations on the new coursework. We've got to talk about a lot of other coursework as well. Let me just go into the show notes here, and let's see if I can bring that up. Here we go. You see special guests linked up, Lauren Ameling, as well as Jace Broadhurst, and you can link through to the Biblical Coach course directly. Or if you want, you can go to Trinity School of Natural Health. And here, I'm just going to show you. I already opened up something. But if you go to the front page there, you'll see a toll-free number, 800-428-0408, 800-428-0408, and you press option 2. But here you can also see different aspects of how to find the program. So if you click on the tab that says Programs, and I'm showing everybody that's watching the show right now, you put your cursor right over that, and you will get Health Coach, CNHP, CHHP, Certified Traditional Naturopath. Then there's the Biblical Coach course, and then there's aromatherapy, all the things that you can scroll on down. And then, guess what? You can get to something called Lectures on Demand. Apparently, some people are having trouble finding it, and I wanted to help you do that. I just opened it up. Right now, there are 11 different lectures on demand available. I want to turn it back over to Lauren real quick here and help us explain, understand what these lectures on demand are and how they're different from the other courses available.
Perfect. So these are just topical lectures. If there's something that you're interested in, but you don't want to sign up for a full program and have discussions and activities and quizzes, if you don't want a certificate, you can just pick any of these topics and watch a video. Most of them are about an hour in length to, somewhere under 2 hours. And it's just instant access streaming. So very grateful to have our newest edition there from Robert Scott Bell on homeopathy. Really glad to see that expand.
Well, yeah, I was a long time in the making. You guys were great at squeaking at me to finally get it done. And, I've been kind of sitting on this information for a long time. Very few people know about it or are training and teaching. And I thought to bring out clinical homeopathy as a unique branch of homeopathy that few know about and put it in context for people. And this is not for anybody that's a classically trained homeopath. I'm not denigrating anything that anyone is doing in homeopathy that's different, but to give perspective in a time where we are living in an unprecedented time on our planet and different toxicological burdens and deficiencies than at the time of Samuel Hahnemann himself when he first came out. And I talk about the evolution, the historical evolution of where we are today and how we can use homeopathy a little different. Have we gotten any complaints calling up? How dare you? How dare you put that heresy of homeopathy that's not classical?
No, absolutely not. And I can attest to that. My husband and I both use a very clinical approach to homeopathy. I love your drainage technique. I mean, harmonizing the liver is step one for a lot of natural healthcare practices. Yeah,
and I say that sort of tongue in cheek, but you know how dogma is. People can get so dogmatic that it's homeopathy, and yet they treat it like it's a religion. But we've talked about modern medicine and vaccinology. Science itself has become the science, like scientism. It's a religion as opposed to genuine inquiry. And again, that's why I like what Jace is doing with teaching you how to interpret and read, and then you can go off on yourself. You can actually you can figure this thing out, and we don't have to how am I saying this? There's a lot of years of frustration. Argentum nitricum homeopathically that I'm dealing with homeopaths that are like, just open your mind for a moment. I am not using suppressive homeopathic methodologies. You can't technically do that, but it's context of why do we use complexes for organs or organ systems that have become corrupted. And as I mentioned in the course, I tend to use what we call the lower attenuations or potencies to gently bring the body out of dysfunction. And it works more functionally because we know so much more about the body and its organs and organ systems since the time of Hahnemann. So I think it's very complementary. And I think my experience has been that those that take a classical methodology and begin to use the simillimum concept of a classical remedy, they are much more successful when we clear the terrain. And that harkens back to others that I mentioned, including Antoine Béchamp and Claude Bernard.
Absolutely.
So there I go. I'm just letting loose with you, Lauren. Just making sure. So it's cool. Now I also see on the schedule list of different ones. There's my course, but going back into all of them, you and your husband, Jason, both doctors of chiropractic and more, have Anatomy and Physiology 1 and 2, and it's like, whoa, double the price. What's going on there? Talk to me about this.
So that is our entire A&P 1 and 2 from our CNHP level. Got our start in education teaching college level, university level anatomy and physiology. For nursing students, medical, pre-med students, we are advanced A&P instructors. It's our passion. Those courses that we put together for Trinity are really fun because it's true A&P, but from a natural health perspective. So when we talk about a different body system, we'll say, and here's the nutritional support for it. Here's the, things that it loves physically, in addition to just here's its structure and function. So that is a really in-depth lecture on demand, where it's not the standard 1 hour long. Those are closer to 14 hours long. So lots of bang for your buck. But the beautiful thing with those lectures on demand is that 100% of the collections go towards our Trinity scholarship. So you're really just funding the natural health movement. You're helping to provide for our students that need a little assistance.
That's amazing. So there are folks out there that are on scholarship that are genuinely in need. And, that's part of the vision that Julie Whitman Klein has continued on, her father's tradition, to try to make this available to everybody, that people in need are not going to be excluded. So there are ways, if those of you are struggling out there, obviously there's a way to contact, say, hey, here's my situation. You guys try to work something together. So there's a fund for that. That's wonderful.
Absolutely. Yep. And the scholarship application's on the bottom of our main website. You can look at it anytime. So we're happy to help, or call Student Services and they'll walk you through the application process if you need.
So I'm going back into the webpage now for everybody to see. I want you to talk about some more of the partnerships that you've got in developing some more opportunities to learn, and very pragmatic and practical as far as the options here. And let's see, if I go to, blog lectures, here we go. I'm trying to find the right one. There's the Biblical Coach Program, sorry. Now we go back into programs here, and I see, for instance, Zyto Specialist. Dr. Cook.
Absolutely. So we are big fans of partnering or having educational alliances. If somebody that we know is the expert of the field, we don't want to recreate the wheel. We want to welcome them to Trinity as the subject matter expert and work with them to develop curriculum. So we have 3 educational alliances right now. Zyto was our first. So we have the Zyto Specialist program. And then we brought on the endocannabinoid professional program to partner with the Advent Academy for medicinal cannabis use and understanding the endocannabinoid system. And then our most recent one is with the company Deseret Biologicals. Most people know them as simply Des Bio. They have a phenomenal collection of homeopathics and nutritional support. They are very, very well known for their Lyme education and their Lyme series kit. And they just put together a Lyme specialist program for us. It's going to launch for the first time on November 23rd. So we're enrolling for that now. But it's a phenomenal course. If you're living in a Lyme affected area, any of our northeastern states to north central states, and you deal with Lyme clients, I'd strongly recommend you looking into their weekly breakdowns on our website. They go over the Lyme presentation, the co-infections, the symptomatology, and all the natural steps to help correct that in your clients.
Now, I'm looking on the Trinity program page, and I don't even see it up on the page. Am I missing that one yet, or is it just
it's
not gone
there?
up?
It's they're in alphabetical order. So CLS is its abbreviation on the program page.
Okay, I'm looking all programs.
Certified Lyme
Thank
Specialist.
you. I just jumped right over it. My bad.
You're good.
And those are my old eyes. Let's show it everybody to. Let's see it now. Here we go. Certified Lyme Specialist. So the first coursework starting November 23rd. This is the next cycle of a lot of the programs, right? November 23rd?
Yes, absolutely. So our courses do operate every 4 weeks. So we're currently enrolling for our 2 core programs that are offered every month, Certified Natural Health Professional and Certified Holistic Health Practitioner. And then we're also starting all of our 8-week programs. So anything that's 8 weeks long, Jace's Biblical Coach, Aromatherapy, Holistic Fitness, Flower Essence, and the Certified Lyme Specialist.
Oh, this is great news. Look, folks, you got an a la carte menu as well. You don't have to take everything. You take it one at a time or whatever, but the pace is yours, although there is now Canvas, so there is a pacing within it, and people are really responding well to it, unlike the slacker me that takes forever to do stuff. And so there's a lot of great things happening at Trinity, and I'm so grateful. And also, I want to confirm to me what I think is true about the Trinity Health Freedom Expo. I know it's 2 weeks back, but apparently you can still sign up and you can watch all of the programs that were presented, including the live lectures or the what we call it, what were they? The group thing. I was in them.
Your panel discussions or your live stream.
I'm
yeah,
losing
your
my
live
mind
streams.
here. So yeah, that as well. But like another 5 months before you can't watch. So that's a great deal, because it used to be. I remember when we were doing them all in person, which we'd like to do again. There were like videos, tapes of all of them. You couldn't get all of them for $40.
No,
never.
not at all.
No. So for me, this is the best deal ever.
It absolutely is. The Trinity Health Freedom Expo was our last new thing that I wanted to talk about, because, of course, we did just have our first ever virtual Trinity Health Freedom Expo. Everything went really well. The platform was well received. And to your point, it was well received from all attendees.
What happened? We froze up again?
At their own pace.
Yeah. Go ahead. We just had a blip.
Did I lose you?
Yeah, say it again. Start that sentence over.
That's okay. I was just going to say it was really well received. Our first ever virtual Trinity Health Freedom Expo. To your point about access to the videos, students loved it. Everybody who attended loved it, because they didn't have to pick and choose which room to go into. Like at the live events where you've got, 4 different people back to back. Here, with it being virtual, you can attend every single one at your own pace. It still is open, so you can log in and get access to it at trinityhealthfreedomexpo.com. And all of the event features, all of the speaker recordings, all of the live streamed panel discussions, those are all available until April of 2021. So you've got months to get through all the lectures and look at all the different exhibitors.
And that's still available through the Whova app, or is that also on the computer?
So you'll have to sign up through trinityhealthfreedomexpo.com, and then they will direct you to the Whova app for watching everything and interacting with the other attendees and exhibitors.
This is so cool. Well, folks, if you're one of the few people in this audience that didn't attend the Trinity Health Freedom Expo, and those of you who have, please let everybody know how awesome it was. And you can still sign up and see all of it through April of 2021. And won't it be great to see 2020 in the rear view?
Absolutely.
Well, especially if we wake up in an hour or two, I've got to talk about mama bears waking up. Some of you already have, and there's some outrageous things happening with children being masked, and I want to talk about that some more in hour 2. Let me bring Jace back into the mix here. He's been hanging on, and I thank you, Jace, because again, you're doing a great job also bringing people into perspectives and context, which I'm always supportive of. I want people to be able to engage and discuss. And, from a Jewish tradition, we always like to get together and argue, right? But it's part of the culture, right? Yeah, but it was okay. We still love each other. And I think that's part of, the fundamental message I'd like people to get from whatever spiritual readings or interpretations they get, that love, that divinity, that source is something that can overwhelm the fear that is seemingly taking a hold of so many right now, Jace.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think actually Christianity needs to learn a lot from their Jewish brothers and sisters in regard to arguing. Like, even if you got commentaries, and Jewish commentaries are, Rabbi this says this, Rabbi this says this, and they all disagree with each other, but they're all authoritative in some way. And I love that. Why can't we have those kinds of discussions and arguments?
Yeah, I know. Just because you argue doesn't mean you hate somebody. I mean, it's like it's part of the intellectual engagement and debate, and it's lively. I mean, the thing is, they say at Thanksgiving, which they don't want anybody to have now for fear of the invisible. Man, don't talk religion, don't talk politics. I mean, this is what families have done forever and communities have done forever. Now suddenly, that's verboten. Don't do that. It's like, no, we don't have to be attached like some of us are to our opinion so much that we're upset if somebody believes or interprets differently that we have to now visit violence upon them. I think that, I don't know that those teachings are correct anywhere if anybody's interpreting that we must resort to violence to convince people to believe what we believe.
Well, surely not Jesus. That would be against everything he had to say. But yeah, you're right. I mean, why can't we have these conversations in safe places like our Thanksgiving dinner table? Like, this is our family. They should love us. Or in our churches. Why are churches so afraid of having these kinds of conversations? Let's bring them in. Let's learn from each other.
Jace, as we wrap up the first hour of the Robert Scott Bell Show today, I want to thank the whole family at Trinity School of Natural Health. And Jace, my wife just texted me and says, I don't know if there's significance to this number for you, but you are the 1,400th guest officially of the Robert Scott Bell Show. 1,400 different guests, and you can come on multiple times. We'll only count you once. But 14, I don't know, but you're number 1,400. Way to go.
All right. Gematria is very big in Jewish circles. So yeah,
right.
It's 14, 7 times 2. Those are very important numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some significance. I felt there was some significance. I didn't realize it till my wife just texted me. Hey, tell Jace. So you're in, buddy. Appreciate you. I hope to see you again or have you on again, talk about this or other topics. And like I said, we can rise to the occasion and we can return to the faith that I believe we were asked to live. But that faith is rewarded, I believe, in the experience that solidifies the reason we have faith. And, I ask people, don't abandon it because of fear, because of being scared. There's a whole lot of people that want to control and manipulate us through fear. And when you're connected to the source of all sources, I call it God, whatever you call it's fine, the fear can melt away and you recognize you don't need it at those moments or maybe ever.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for letting me be on.
All right. That's Jace Broadhurst and Lauren Ameling from Trinity School of Natural Health. Awesome hour, folks. Thank you for being here. We got a lot more healing to go on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Hour 2, we're going to talk about some moms and outrage, and I think it's righteous. We'll talk about it and more. If you've got questions or comments, submit them because we've got questions of the day and comments of the day coming up in hour 2 as well. Thanks for being here. The power to heal is yours.
Bye, Robert.
The Robert Scott Bell Show. The Robert Scott Bell Show.
Have you ever watched a movie with superheroes and villains? If so, you already understand the science of drinking hydrogen-enriched water and how to unlock true health. Allow me to explain. In our bodies, we have a natural struggle between superheroes and villains, with molecular hydrogen being the superhero and oxidative stress the villain. So how does knowing that give you the tools to unlock true health? Your body is naturally designed to fight oxidative stress through specific bacteria in the gut that creates hydrogen on their own. Pretty awesome, right? So why does this matter? Well, in most people, the hydrogen-creating bacteria is gone, and cancer and disease soon follow. So the real question is, why aren't we trying to fix this every day? Well, the answer is simple. It's hard. Even the most healthy of individuals who biohack take months or years to achieve this balance. But how do we get there without taking months or even years? After years of study and development, we discovered and designed the perfect technology that made it all possible. We call this technology Echo H2 water. Within minutes of drinking hydrogen-rich water from our Echo Hydrogen water machines, you are back in control, balanced, and feeling amazingly hydrated and healthy. Having your own Echo Hydrogen water machine is kind of like having your own team of superheroes on call, always available to fight the villains in your body. Pretty cool, right? But don't just take our word for it. Get your Echo H2 water machine today and quickly bring your body into balance with hydrogen.
Robert Scott Bell Show.
I listen to get accurate, up-to-date information.
I've learned so much from him.
It is awesome. It's the best entertainment that I've found.
You rock the health world. Keep it up. I love you.
Now, the voice of health, freedom, and liberty, here's Robert Scott Bell.
All right, back at it here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Hour 2 commences now. My wife basically told me on the break, Super Don, that I should just let you speak the whole hour because apparently I'm not finding words. I'm flubbing my lines. I don't know basic things like panel discussions. And, like, what's the point? I should just go and you can take over hour 2. How's that? You up for that? Oh, you're thinking about it. It's like, look at that.
A little critique there, huh? Yeah.
You know, I went to her and I said, I actually did. I said on the break, I was like, go with my wife. I do from time to time. It's like, honey, how's it going? And then I said, by the way, I had trouble finding words in the first hour. She said, yeah, you should have just let Lauren speak. Like, all right. But I did. I thought I did. She spoke a little bit. But, anyway. But good hour. I think, for me, it's, you know, we're not a, what would we say, a religious show, but yet we are. Or spiritual, for your sake, Super Don, right? Spirit is all
sake?
over this. Well,
spiritual,
you know, when we talk about 501c3 churches, organized religion, there, you know, people out there have problems with that, and rightfully so. There are some things that, you know, kind of stray, and organizational imperatives that may be different than your imperative and the way you read and research whatever spiritual text you review and read and find inspiring. And so if it, you know, a topic like that can be bringing people into, I think, maybe find some deeper meaning in what they're trying to find. And I'm not one that judges, oh, you have to do it this way. This is, you know, for me, it's about your relationship, your personal relationship. And as I say, the power to heal is yours every hour when I can remember to do so. It's about connecting to that power source, and how you do it is how you do it. And your life is a testament to that ultimately. I mean, you can tell me things and I'll go, well, I'm going to watch your life and see what it tells me, right? When you talk about, you say it, but you don't live it. That's the word hypocrisy. And certainly that plays in the realm of most governors like Newsom, or Governor Herbert in Utah, or Governor-elect Cox, much less the Democrats and Biden, et cetera. Do you have, Super Don, I know we've got some topics we're going to get into the masking thing further, but do you have any thing to say about the trepidatious election, non-election, cheating, non-cheating? It's still floating out there. All kinds of claims being made on both sides of the equation here. Is there anything that you would go, I just need to say this? No plans on that. I know I'm throwing you a little bit of a curve, but
not really. I mean, I'm kind of burnt out for the most part because, you know, I mean, there's still, people are still, you know, nobody's settled, nobody's happy, nobody is, you know, the result isn't there yet. I don't know where it's going to go at this point. You know, there's a lot of theories, a lot of stories, a lot of, you know, things that are being tossed around, but nothing concrete, you know, that has been established or proven or any of that kind of stuff. So I you know,
we know no matter what happens, X% of the people are going to be very unhappy, ticked off, right?
Well, yeah, there's nobody. Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, look at the results of the election. Yeah, it was split, man. You know, you got half the country is angry. And we knew going into this that it didn't matter who won, that you know, there was going to be the other, you know, half of the country was going to be unhappy about the situation. So, you know, a lot of people are talking about, where do we go from here? I
am certain still that Trump won, and it was a landslide, that these were votes that were completely corrupted by this Dominion voting system, which apparently that's where all the controversy is focusing now, legally and otherwise. Yeah. We don't have stories we can validate all of them, but there's certainly there's enough suspicion that
it's about what you can prove in court at this point, if that's where it goes at this point. I mean, I don't even know if it's even going to go that far. You know, we don't know. It depends on what you're watching. If you're watching mainstream news, there's nothing going on. If you're watching Newsmax and OANN, there's a lot going on. And you know, that's the case. Is like, who's got a nonpartisan approach, if there is such a thing. I think if you look at and say we would like election integrity,
no matter what side you're on, you have to go, why do we have computer voting systems that are being tallied in foreign countries? I think that right there, you got to go, if that's for real, that's messed up. For one, it's like you can't vote within your own country and count the votes within your own country. You got to send it. That's problematic. If the CIA is involved, that's problematic. And that's why I think if any of those claims are true, which they appear to be, there's no way this was a legit election in terms of what they counted at the end of the day. And then you got to reassess this. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I know that y'all know where I'm at. It's what I feel what I'd like to see happen. But maybe we'll just leave it at that for now. I just thought we have to visit it because it's on it's on everybody's mind. But as I said, don't let it overwhelm your the fear quotient or the fear factor, which is up there for a lot of people right now on every side, perhaps, or on the leftist side that watch CNN and MSNBC. They're overconfident about everything that they do right now through cheating.
By the way, I checked out both Newsmax and OAN.
Yeah.
And I think I lean more towards Newsmax personally. Okay. They're both good. OAN has a tendency to remind me of like local news channel, like local news station versus like a. But
you know what I like about local news? Occasionally the truth slips out because they're not totally in control 24/7. It's like, what do they cover? What do they say? They're not supposed to do that. Sometimes
but
that happens.
The problem with OAN is they kind of sound like you did last hour. Oh no! I'm sorry. No.
Look, it's the B team.
Did
and
I
C
say
team.
that? I didn't say that.
These are the people that are not slick robots or Stepford newscasters, right? When you get to that level of Fox and PMSNBC or whatever you call it, they are slick, man. They are like weeded out, but they're nothing like the Edward R. Murrows and Walter Cronkites of the past. As John Rappaport has written about, it's B team, C team now. Nobody's up at that level anymore, even at that level. So if you're talking about more local, I get what you're saying. They're not as slick, not as, on everything.
That was.
I don't know how they're dressing. I
couldn't help it.
That was funny. I give you props with that. Your wife's going to ask you, or he's going to say, Super Don, she'll say. Mm-hmm. I can't believe you said that to Robert. He's going to be mad at you.
Oh, you're in trouble now.
You're in trouble. You're in so much trouble. All right, let's see. What do we do in hour 2? Let me go back to the notes and let me show everybody.
Hour 2, I saw this. You actually sent this to me, and I thought, this would be a great way to open the hour because this title, this headline of this article here says Robert Scott Bell.
It does?
It does.
Face masks make you stupid.
There you go.
This is on the critic.co.uk. Oh my gosh, this is coming out of the United Kingdom. How dare they allow this to come out? V for Vendetta is happening. Why face masks are a form of dehumanization. That is a great statement, and I want to, I guess, go into it. I do. I want to go into this article. This is worth reading. This is how it opens. This is a very well-read individual writing this, Patrick Fagan. In Just Mirlo's analysis of false confessions and totalitarian regimes, The Rape of the Mind, he coins a phrase for the dumbing down of critical resistance called menticide. Menticide sounds like what it is. Menticide. You're taking your mental body and just destroying it. In the totalitarian regime, he wrote, in the totalitarian regime, the doubting, inquisitive, and imaginative mind has to be suppressed. The totalitarian slave is only allowed to memorize, to salivate when the bell rings. Now, Super Don, I got to ask, you remember high school psychology, Pavlov, right? You remember about Pavlov's dog?
No. Ding.
They would ring a bell, feed the dog, ring a bell, feed the dog. So they programmed to hear the bell and eat. And then they took away the food and they ring a bell and automatically, no matter when they rang the bell, salivation, a physiological response due to the operant conditioning or programming that occurred. And what we're seeing is mass programming on a scale like never before with the masking issue, much less the fear of the germ and subsequent acceptance of vaccination. 60% at Drudge Report, which tells me all of what I need to know about the readers of Drudge Report, except for Super Don, who does review it for some stories that we use. So if we go back to this article, it's a pull quote. It says, face masks make you suggestible. They make you more likely to follow someone else's direction and do things you wouldn't do otherwise do. And we've covered this in psychological experiments, and they've argued that those who are following orders lose empathy for others. And that's the irony, of course, because those of us who are defiant, they diagnose us with oppositional defiance disorder, we actually have more empathy by a ton or more. How do you weigh this out? Than those who are following mask orders and who absolutely look at us in terror and want to jail us, imprison us, dehumanize us, have us ostracized and isolated, maybe put on boxcars and taken to FEMA camps of some kind. Because they follow orders and suddenly they feel good because they're just following orders and it's not them. They can pawn it off. It's like, it's not me. You're not following orders. I am. And they get a little bit uppity about their own holier than thou. Well, I'm following orders. Who? Secular orders. Orders from the wizards and warlocks and the, the pharmakia. We go into the sorcerers of the church of pharmaceutical mysticism. So, key word here is docility or docile, come from the Latin docere, meaning to teach, as does say doctorate and document. Being docile means being compliant and following commands, which means submitting to a system of thought. And I remember also about the Pavlovian thing, going back into the suggestions, powerful suggestions. I never liked learning dates, times, and places. I was so annoyed, and I don't know if y'all remember this too in high school or grade school. I'm talking government indoctrination centers. We used to call them public schools. History was the worst. I hated history. Why? I love history now. It's so fascinating. But because the way we were taught was, remember this date, this place, and this is what happened. Just, that's it. And then we'll go to another date and a time and a place. Just remember that. And never were they connected. Never did one cause lead to one effect or, toppling and toppling and toppling. Like, we never learned that the Treaty of Versailles after World War I set the stage for the inevitability of World War II and the rise of a fascist, socialist, Nazi regime. No, World War I happened. Then World War II happened. Oh, they'll blame before World War I. It's all about it was a hit. What do they call that when they do a hitman? Talk about an assassination. That's what did it. No other big context there. Remember, that was assassination, and then it happened. Like, there's got to be a little more to it than that. Yeah, there is a lot more. And of course, we look at today in modern America, or most of the world right now, where the globalist New World odor eaters are all saying, great reset, currency reset. Some would say it's inevitable, even though they're trying to artificially induce it because of the demonic birth of the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, setting the stage for something that our founders warned us about. And then we abandon the principles of just weights and measures, which basically that goes back to the Bible even. And now no longer was gold and silver legal tender, but fractional reserve banking reared its ugly head. But we're not taught that the Federal Reserve in school is responsible for all the booms and busts. Oh, no. It's the greed in the marketplace. It's greedy people. We need socialism. We need government control of everything, all the economy, because people can't be trusted to their own self-interest. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm sort of off track, but not. Given perspectives here that I do from time to time. So let's go back into this article that says face masks make you stupid. I hope that you'll link to it at robertscottbell.com. This is very well worth a read and a share. Very well worth it. Let's see. The empirical literature has shown that compliance and suggestibility are negatively related to intelligence. Interestingly enough, in consumer psychology, there's even a technique called disrupt, then reframe. Bamboozle people first, and they'll become more likely to buy what you're selling them. Anybody recognize what's going on in the calendar year COVID crazy 2020? Super Don? Anything? Does that sound familiar? Permanent states of confusion, anybody? You follow what I've been saying about confusion? Keeping people off center. Even the officials go, mask, don't mask. Right? Distance works, doesn't. The masks work, they don't work. They do work now. On and on it goes. Everybody stepping on everybody's toes. It's this one day, it's that, the opposite the next. That is a technique, is my point, Super Don. And I've been saying this. Mm-hmm. Confusion is part of it. It's purposeful. It has great intent, harmful intent, but it has intent. So when you find a story that says this and then this, it is intriguing and it's fun for us to cover it. but on some level there is a design and purpose because it puts people off their center, and now they're more suggestible, pliable, malleable.
Well, and I remember when we first started talking about this, and I think I was the one that brought it up, where it was just like, wait a minute, hold on, what? Wait, what did you say? Wait, the World Health Organization says do it. The CDC says not to do it. Wait a minute. The CDC said not to do it, but what they really meant was do it. And then eventually there's going to be a certain number of people that are just going to be like, you know what? I'm tired of everybody telling me two different things. Just tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Just tell me. What am I supposed to just make up your mind and I'll do it, because I'm tired of hearing about it.
Yeah.
There are some people that would fall into that category.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It takes a strong continence and I think a strong connection to the most holy to see through this, because it's more than a mental construct. Let
me say that you also, there's a flip side to that, which I think you're seeing a lot of, which maybe they weren't counting on. You've got the other group of people that are just like, you know what? Nobody knows what the heck it is that they're even talking about. Like, just leave me alone. You got everybody's full of crap. I don't believe it anyway. So just forget about it. And this is what you're seeing this now, which is the reason why they're now starting to get more serious about this, where you're starting to see things like mandates. I think North Dakota, just today, mandated masks.
North Dakota.
They're following suit. And, have you noticed that you'll see one state will do it and then all the rest of the states will be like,
of course.
Let's do what they just did.
Let's do what they did.
Oregon did it just last week.
By the way,
and
folks,
now everybody else is doing the same thing now.
There's no constitutional authority for a governor to be able to force you to restrict your breathing. They don't have the ability. They can claim, we're going to fine you. They're not going to be able to do it. And if they do, they will lose in court. And there will be lawyers lined up to support you. Probably a lot pro bono, because it's just so ridiculous. Now, this article.
I'm going to tell you. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that here locally, I'm noticing that there's local articles and conversations that are going on because here we are coming up on Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be the first time in a lot of what it is that we have been talking about on this show over the last few months where I'm actually going to feel kind of like a rebel when Thanksgiving comes around. Because it's like you can only have 10 or what is it, 6 people?
6 people, depending on where you are, 6 to 10.
6 people with and from only 2 households and all that stuff.
I want to see neighborhoods come together and just visit everybody's house, just to spite the
giant block party, right?
Yeah, have a giant block party, no masks, no distancing. Just to show them we don't believe you, you're lying to us. And they are. They're absolutely lying for what purpose? Now, this article goes through a bunch of different scientific references as well to different things, even fluoride mentioned, bringing us to face masks. And he says face masks can now be added to the list of mandates that make you stupid. I love what he says next. As if Piers Morgan feverishly promoting them weren't evidence enough. Here are facts on why you absolutely categorically should not wear a face mask. They make you suggestible. They make you more likely to follow someone else's direction and do things you wouldn't otherwise do. In short, they switch off your executive function, your conscience. We talk about empathy, but your conscience itself. And then he goes through a number of studies going back to the 1970s, asking participants how willing they would be, how much they would have to be paid to wear a very embarrassing sign, which apparently that sign today, I won't even say it, you probably get extra credit for doing it in 2020. Back then, you would have been embarrassed by it. But the results show that people, when they wore a mask, are more likely to carry an embarrassing sign and require less money to do so. Halloween trick-or-treaters stealing candy, more likely to do so when they're wearing a mask. See what you're willing to do. The effect is similarly found online. And Super Don, you know this very well, whether it be on Facebook or Twitter. Semi-anonymity. Oh, the things people would say or do that they would never say or do face-to-face. You know what I'm saying? So
on Twitter especially.
Oh, Twitter's brutal, vicious. I mean, what people do. And it's just like there's no empathy for the other. It's like search and destroy, seek and destroy. And so this masking is destroying what is left of our society, of a decent society where you could expect, at least most of the time, the best from people. Wearing masks is not going to bring out the best in people. It's already shown to bring out violence and hatred and rage and fear, and on it goes. And so there's more psychological studies that are validating it going back in the 19th century as well. covering their mouths would shut us up psychologically. Studies have shown clothing has a powerful effect on how we think or not, via a principle known as enclothed cognition. Wearing a lab coat enhances cognitive function. Study out of 2012. Wearing nurses' scrubs increases empathy. And wearing counterfeit brands increases the likelihood of cheating in a test. You got the YSL from a backwoods for $1. You're probably also cheating on your whatever it is, right? So you put your mouth and you hide it. What is it going to lead to? Reduced effects on verbal reasoning? Shutting you up? How about the studies showing decreasing levels of oxygen to the brain, increasing levels of carbon dioxide? Those are ignored. There are studies published in 2012, 2008, and 2020. Hard to breathe? Evidence they don't work to stop a virus anyway, because, as we talked about, the size of viral proteins or exosomes is way smaller than the netting that you can't see through visually most of the time, but you could certainly breathe through. Well, partly anyway. But if it can gaseously escape through it or around it, a virus or exosome is going to do it. Masks make you stupid. I agree wholeheartedly, and I would ask that you really pray on this if you pray, and find out your marching orders on masks from God, not government. And if you get your marching orders from God, however you receive them, and you got the message from Spirit, you know what? In this case, to be empathetic to someone who's afraid, I'll put the mask on. I'm not going to judge you on that. I know that's not my point in saying all of this. But by and large, we have been much too cooperative with, as I call it, a satanic mask ritual. Others might not go that far. That's okay. We talk about differences of belief. But let's talk about a mama bear who was woken up before the bottom of the hour break here. What is your breaking point? For many of you moms and dads out there, it's when your kids are targeted. And boy, are they being targeted if they are required to wear masks without exemption in grade school and high school, much less college, where they also want to mandate testing and isolation and maybe even the vaccine should they come out, as bogus as they are. So I don't know this mama bear's name, Super Don. Do you? I saw this. It was sent to me, and it was actually posted on Utah Gun Exchange, of all places. And I don't know if it's gone viral, but there are loads of F-bombs in it, but Super Don did great work, and he bleeped them out. But you'll understand this woman has had it. She's hit her limit, and you're about to find out why.
Hi. This is to anybody who is watching, who may be an attorney, who I don't know, who's ready to take down the government. That's where I'm at. My son just passed out in school for wearing a mask. That's where I'm at. In PE, he passed the out because he couldn't breathe. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I don't give a shit anymore. If anybody wants to claim that these masks are good, people die every day from diseases. Every day, heart attack, everything else. A child who passes out during PE because he can't breathe, because he's in a mask, gets this mama bear pissed.
Anybody else feel that way? There was no acting there. That was genuine rage and outrage. And I'm not saying I want her to leave the house right now in that state, because that could be dangerous for her and others. But do you feel what she's feeling? If your child is made to wear a mask, maybe it's not passing out. Maybe it's a rash. Maybe it's another infection. Or maybe you recognized, as I do, that we're teaching our children to live in fear of one another and to fear themselves because of what they would do if they take that mask off. When I say it's a satanic or Luciferian agenda, there are reasons that I say that. However you determine those words, or maybe use your own words to explain it, I feel what this mama bear is feeling. I am equally outraged at times, and yes, there are times off the air where I might speak the words I don't say on the air. I don't pretend to be holier than thou. There are times where I get righteously angry about these things, and we let it out so we can do this show. And sometimes even then, Super Don almost has to bleep me out. So we're going to take a break, bottom of the hour. We're going to come back and talk about it. There's a secondary clip of this where, boy, does it go deep. And I want Super Don and I will talk about it if you have questions or comments about it as well. Also coming up, questions of the day, comments of the day. One's on circulation, by the way. And a New Yorker has a bone to pick with me about New Yorkers. I'm a New Yorker. A long time ago. We'll find out what that's all about as well. Stick with us. The power to heal is yours. I'm just here to remind you of that and say thanks to our friends at Synergy Science for the key technology that keeps me and my family safe in the midst of harmful fifth-generation wireless technologies. And we'll be right back.
Today, we live in an omnipresent cloud of charged particles emitted by electronic devices, electromagnetic fields, WLAN, and radio waves. These particles penetrate our bodies and heat the water in our body tissues. Recent scientific studies have shown that this particle flux not only heats the cells in our bodies as if we were in a microwave oven, but damages them as well. At Key Technologies, we want to protect you from the negative effects of such particles, so we have developed the Key Home Cell and other products. The Key Home Cell creates a protective field that works like a filter, intercepting any dangerous particles before they can enter your body. Here we have a partial look at the inner workings of the Key Home Cell. The Key Home Cell generates a charge exchange between the water tubes, thereby discharging free electrons and releasing them into the room. Within 24 hours, the Key Home Cell creates a torus field. The free electrons formed in the torus use their negative charge to bind to the positively charged harmful particles, thereby rendering them harmless to you. The torus field has an effective range of 16.4 feet above and below, and 24.6 feet around the device. The torus field created by the Key Home Cell is transmitted and provides you with protection through the walls of your home. Not only humans and animals are shielded from harmful radiation, but plants and food too. Whether mobile radio waves or WLAN, any particles that come within the torus field can no longer cause any harm to you or your family. The Key Home Cell provides you with all-around protection, allowing you to communicate with absolute peace of mind when using your cell phone or any other electronic devices. The Key Home Cell's free electrons are transmitted into the water through the torus field and repairing the water structure that was destroyed by radiation particles. Water regains its ideal vibrating hexagonal grid structure. The difference is easy to taste and can be proven with laboratory testing. This type of perfect hexagonal water structure is found in fresh spring and healing water and has also been seen in snowflakes. The same effect happens with our food, which also contains water. The Key Home Cell greatly reduces radiation exposure from cell phones, laptops, WLAN transmitters, mobile terminals, and other sources of radiation. The Key Home Cell drastically reduces the thermal stress on your body tissue. It is very fast and very easy. With the Key Home Cell, you will experience a new quality of well-being within your home and more life energy without any unhealthy exposure to radiation.
All right, thanks, y'all. If you're still here, kudos to you. Brave lads and lassies. Yes, I said that. Did you see Super Don? You know, I'm worried about what we just played a little bit, but you bleeped it out, so we should be okay. But, you know, we're still banned, apparently, from playing our videos live on Facebook. The Robert Scott Bell Show. And so please, if you're on Facebook, too, share while you're still there and say, hey, you can watch the show here. But even on YouTube, we have been censored from time to time. And can you remind folks about other platforms that they can hear us and see us on? And we're continuing to look and scour and try to stay ahead of the censorship band as long as we can.
Yeah. Well, if you go over to the website, robertscottbill.com, the one that we're featuring, and you'll see it right on the front page in the upper right-hand corner is Twitch. So that's one. I really like that platform. The picture's really good. The audio is really good. It's crystal clear. There's a very little delay, actually, between our broadcast and what you see on Twitch.
And there's a chat room, a live chat room like YouTube has.
Yes, there is a live chat room.
So look for Twitch as an option. Yeah.
There's a listen page on our website up at the top. You click on listen. It'll give you a rundown of all the different platforms that we're on. So in the event that you happen to come to YouTube and we suddenly aren't there, then you know you've got these other places you can go to and you'll be able to watch the broadcast and we'll keep you up to date on what's going on.
I still see a listen on your phone option up there at the top. Is that true still? That's so cool.
You know, I actually needed to check on that. That stopped working a while back and I wasn't able to get an answer either way.
Okay.
So I may end up removing that. That was kind
a
of
good
a cool
option
thing that we had.
But I saw us on a number of things, including Spotify, TuneIn. TuneIn is still happening. I noticed that,
and that's all the podcasts. So
right.
that's after the fact. But
yeah. So I wanted to bring that, remind everybody, folks, because we are on, it's a hair trigger, so to speak, right now on censorship, because they are desperate, folks. They're desperate. It used to be only censoring people that have products that cure cancer without being approved by the government, right? Those were always censored, and we've talked about that for years. But now political discourse. If you believe about the election that Biden is not the president-elect, there hasn't been a certification. There's a lot of challenges that are still going. They'll censor you on most media outlets. Even Fox News is limiting discussion of that. And so I think if you've seen this, Fox News has dropped precipitously in terms of viewership. I mean, they really just shot themselves in the foot by the way they had a good thing going, and they just had to go globalist. Well, Soros and who is it? Murdoch, apparently, maybe sharing coffee and tea behind the scenes. I don't know, but looks pretty bad. But that's why we're talking about Newsmax and OAN, Next News Network, Health Ranger. He's doing stuff in Natural News that's you're not going to get anywhere else. So, and here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. So face masks make you stupid. Face masks with elastic bands. Check this out. We've been seeing a lot of mask mouth, and that is not just in the mouth, but around it. Allergies, eczema, skin infections, cutaneous inflammation. This is a story about a doctor saying we treated a 60-year-old black man with adult onset eczema, contact dermatitis, and chronic nasal allergies in our clinic after he presented 3 times to our hospital emergency room because of an uncomfortable face rash, says an allergist. Up until April 2020, his skin conditions had been under control, but with mask wearing, his symptoms began occurring in areas that providers were not yet accustomed to. So, again, there's a lot of synthetic chemicals involved, including the type of straps that are on these masks that are contributing to more infection, weaker immune systems, more hyperimmune responses in terms of allergies, allergic reactions, etc. And we've got to work on our liver for sure, but we can't keep putting garbage, toxic poisons on our face. Whether you believe it like I do, it's a masking ritual of a Luciferian prerogative or not. Just go medical if you're a medical and go, this is just wrong. We're creating illness through masking. And that's true. Or as we talk about making us stupid. Now, part 2 of this rant by this mama bear gets even more intense, if you can imagine that. And I want to watch it. I want you all to watch it with us, and Super and I will discuss it because it can get uncomfortable watching this, honestly. And it can look like other things that we've seen from another political side of the aisle. And I want to kind of parse this and see where it can go, see if we can make some sense out of it. So let's run the second clip of the mama bear waking up because her son passed out at school because he was required to wear a mask during PE.
I need an attorney because I'm ready to sue. So if you are a lawyer and you have more knowledge than me, this is no longer okay. An innocent child just passed out because they wore a mask in PE. This, America, is not okay. This is children. This is not okay. I am done. I hope every school board member is listening to this. This is children's life we are talking about and breathing. People get sick every day. When you can't breathe, it's a game changer. Breath is life.
You know, that powerful ending there, breath is life, Super Donna, obviously all in on. And the rational thought she had even in the midst of that rant include people die every day of a lot of things, right? Do we now stop everything from happening? And that's a very valid point in the midst. I think there was a point where I don't know if she made a conscious decision or if that's just her nature to go into what we would almost term of vocal histrionic, where it went into that other level of outrage where it seemed familiar, right? But not in a good way necessarily, wouldn't you say? You're muted.
That made me cringe a little bit. when she went there, it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I understand what she's saying. And listen, if it was my child, Yeah, I would be upset. I probably wouldn't be screaming.
But that's her
but
nature, clearly. She's got
that's
that.
her thing, I guess. Yeah.
But yeah, when she went into that realm, and you pointed this out, it reminded you of, like, remember when Trump won the first time and you had the Karens going rage.
Yeah, the whole screaming thing is it. I don't know.
It can be off-putting at a certain point, but I'm talking about that righteous anger. That what is it? It takes your child passing out, and I'm not. Listen, this is not me judging, but it's a question. Where was she regarding pushing for at least an exemption on the mask? Was it possible? I don't know the backstory, so that's why I'm not judging. I'm just asking the question. Where was she before this, right? If this is the moment. Now, maybe she was outraged before. I don't know. But this is the point in a general sense for all of us in America or around the world. What does it take? And I know we've said this, folks. Not everybody's willing to die on the hill over the mask mandate. But if you're not willing to stop it here, it's very much like the time when they came for the Jews and you said nothing because you weren't Jewish. And on it goes until the point where, well, I could have said something and stopped this nonsense, but I thought it wasn't a big deal because you rationalize these things. And I'm asking you, use your rational sense, whatever critical thinking skills you have left before it's too late, and say, you know what? This is absurd. This is just plain stupid. There's no scientific validation. There's some dispute, but it's certainly not anywhere. And this is going to lead to what? As we open the show today, Super Don, Fauci and others going, even with a vaccine that works 95% of the time, you still don't get to take off your mask. We still don't end social distancing. And guess what? Ticketmaster is going to check your vaccination status before you go to a concert anyway. Do you see where this is going? It's not like they're hiding it. The stuff of conspiratorial legend is made manifest in the time where we are so afraid of our microbiological shadow that we're willing to put on masks that can't prevent the passage of something so small that they claim is causing all of this. So if we go along on the mask thing and say we don't want to die on the mask hill, man, the battle next time over the vaccine is going to be a little bit harder, maybe a lot of bit harder. And maybe this cancel Thanksgiving, cancel Christmas thing might be enough for some to go, oh, that's what Robert was saying. That's what he meant. You give them an inch, they're taking the mile, right? They already sequestered churches and synagogues. Oh, you can't have any worship service. Or now you can, but 50% capacity, 25% capacity. And you have to mask and you have to distance. You can't sing. Isn't that enough? That's not enough? What is? An irate, tireless minority has got to speak up, and you got to march on the governor's mansion, the houses, whatever you got to do to let them know they are not going to get away with it. They don't have the constitutional authority to do it. They don't have the moral authority to do it for sure. And there's nothing ethical about limiting and restricting the breathing of anybody, much less children who pass out at school now. That drove this woman to that righteous indignation and anger. Super D, anything else before we move on to questions of the day?
No, let's just jump into it. Why don't we?
Let me see if I can find them. And you help me out here, Super D. Here we go. Question of the day.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
All right, first question of the day is coming from Wayne. Super Don, do you see it there? You see it?
I do.
Okay, can you read that, please? Because it's to you and me, I think.
All right. Hi, Robert and Super Don. Look forward to our patron call on the 30th, and thanks for all of the great material and discussion on the bizarre things going on around us lately. It certainly helps with some clarity you provide. Wondered if you could provide some ideas for May support? Some ideas for May support on the following issue that is getting worse for me every year as the colder weather sets in. Once summer is gone and temperatures drop, I start having issues with cold fingers, but in particular, my left hand ring finger goes white and becomes numb. Especially, he didn't say it was the ring finger, not the middle finger, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Especially when grasping something cooler. It takes a bit of warming and flexing my hand to get it back to normal color and feeling. In the summer, never is this ever an issue. I do not wear a ring, do have a watch on that wrist, Have used Cardio Miracle daily for approximately 4 months now. Take 2 chromium and silica daily and 8 selenium daily. My father had bad circulation in his hands as well, so I may be somewhat hardwired for some of this issue. But this one finger is concerning me as it doesn't take much for it to freeze up on me.
Yeah.
Appreciate any thoughts and ideas you have. So he's got 10 fingers, I assume.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And one finger is having a circulation problem.
Ring finger, left hand. My wife just texted me about Raynaud's syndrome. So look up Raynaud's, see if that's an issue for you, if you haven't already considered that, Wayne. But I was thinking the silica is only at 2 tablets a day. I would want to do probably 3 tablets 3 times a day for at least a month to really build up the silicon stores, because that has everything to do with vascular integrity, suppleness, strength, elasticity of the vascular system. Now, we do know nitric oxide, the things that are in the Cardio Miracle, are helpful for circulation, but if it's not doing it enough, you can double the dose. That's another consideration. But I would also go into more of the the herbs, the plants, and even some homeopathic remedies here that come to mind. One of them is the hawthorn berry. If you haven't gotten on Dr. Christopher's hawthorn berry soup, and remember, syrup, Dr. Hawthorne's berry syrup, Dr. Christopher's. See, the same thing happened last hour. I can't speak. I should have stayed in bed. I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue. I was airplane, by the way. Funny thing. Right. I don't sniff glue, by the way. Just in case. So the left side is the side of the heart. It's circulatory. So it's happening on the left. So I would look to the heart as well. And I would utilize the hawthorn berry. Now, remember, in homeopathic medicine, that's Crataegus, the hawthorn berry. That's a Latin name for it. And it's hard to get Crataegus because they say, oh, that's a prescription item in homeopathy because it only deals with the heart. I think that's nonsense. There's more to it than that. But even if you did Dr. Christopher's hawthorn berry syrup, that'll help. Also, lymphatic massage of that left side could be helpful as well. And it sounds like you're doing great on selenium, which is really good. And there are other remedies in homeopathy to address Raynaud's as well as some circulatory issues. There are snake venoms like Vipera, Lachesis, also good for circulation. And, of course, exercise. Do you bounce on a little mini trampoline? Do you do a brisk walk? Something that creates that kind of, in gravity, we are meant to use our bodies to increase circulation. But there are glandular issues, thyroid issues potentially. Selenium is key there as well. Homeopathically, thyroidinum, that's the homeopathic glandular thyroid, and iodum, which is iodine in homeopathy. Homeopathic iodine also could trigger some things there as well. But the sensitivity, clearly, micropore circulation. Years before we had the Cardio Miracle and nitric oxide production, we would talk about ginkgo biloba because it apparently has benefit to microcapillary circulation. Why not? Give it a try. I don't think there's a downside to it that I'm aware of anyway. Super Don, you want to add anything else into the mix for Wayne? Let's just start there.
Well, I'll tell you, your wife I think she may have hit the nail on the head because when I did some research, Raynaud is the first thing that popped up and what I was looking at. So that might be something to consider. And I'm not sure what the treatment is for Raynaud specifically.
We can do that on another show. That's not a problem. We've got some comments of the day I want to get to before we wrap it up for UK Health Radio when I'm involved in
All right.
So
6 minutes. We can do it.
We can do it. Let's go to the comment of the day.
Hey, you guys! Hey, I tell you what. Hey, here's an idea. All right.
Hey, listen up, everybody. Excuse me.
I got something to say.
All right, first comment of the day is coming from Susu. Susu wrote The Art of War, apparently, in New York. No, that's Sung Soo. Sorry, Susu. But he's like, yo, Robert, you stated something that's false. New Yorkers are not that complacent. I'm just teasing, of course, in my phony New York accent that I lost when I was 6 years old or 8 years old or something like that when I went to Florida. There are New Yorkers that are not that complacent about what's happening. I'm born and raised here, and we're fighters. So incorrect. The same way the Super Don has family members fearful to visit his home during the holiday because they instilled so much fear via the media. Also, I was listening to Bill Gates, and he completely contradicted himself, saying the fall and winter is going to be worse because staying indoors together would make people more vulnerable? Didn't they say people should stay indoors for protection in the beginning of all this madness? Remember what we talked about, confusion, purposeful confusion. It's by design, folks. This is not an accident. Susu says he just recently made that statement, Bill Gates. He is lying through his teeth. Don't think because you hear some of the people aren't making moves that it means all of the people aren't making moves, Susu. So, Super Don, did he take it personal that I threw all New Yorkers under the bus?
I don't think he took it personally, but I think he just wanted to make sure that you.
I know New York is a fighter.
Stayed in your lane.
The fighters, of course, they're fighters, and you should go. You're close enough to go up to Fauci and his rare statements to you give him a little piece of your mind too. New York should secede from New York City, but then Albany's there.
We go again with the secession thing.
All right, at least nullify something. We could
just become 50 different countries. Why don't
well, think about it. If you've got the New York liberal elites that basically guarantee you're always going to have a governor that's a liberal lefty commie pinko, then what do you do? At a certain point, you either got to move or you got to somehow take back the state or divide the state. And remember, we talked with Badnarik earlier last week about secession. He mentioned, hey, what happened to West Virginia? How many people knew that? West Virginia seceded from Virginia because Virginia seceded from the Union and went to the South. So, yeah, secession is an option. It's the ultimate check and going, you know what? There's no hope. We've lost. You've lost. We have nothing in common anymore. And there is that can happen should Biden become president and Kamala and the Senate, if it goes Democrat, then you have a full-on rebellion against the Constitution. Not that there hasn't been already, but it becomes more overt and in your face. So, Susu, thank you for writing in and making sure I remember that.
Setting the record straight there.
Setting the record straight on New Yorkers.
That's right.
Finally, T. Mike writes in about licensing. I think this was a comment on one of our the YouTube videos, because all of our shows are on YouTube as well, as long as we're not being banished. Right. Licensing, he says, is being used to control. Yeah, of course, that's what licenses do. That's what they're for. A few of the hydroxychloroquine promoting doctors are having their licenses reviewed, some may be removed by the medical board in Texas. Bars and restaurants have lost their liquor license through the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission. The hairdresser lady in Dallas, remember her? Threatened with loss of license. What are they going to do to the truckers? I think T. Mike is a trucker. He says, we already have to jump through hoops. We have to take random drug tests, DOT medical physical every 2 years, 24/7 driving, electronic monitoring, etc. I fear they will force us to be vaccinated or lose our license. And T. Mike, you bring up a very powerful and important point that I've been raising for as long as I've been doing this show, maybe before. Licensure, and here, let me just remind you, Michael Badnarik's book, Good to Be King, Chapter 2, available for free. The difference between privileges and rights. Rights versus privileges. If you don't get that, we can't even have this discussion. And I think, T. Mike, you get that. But we are so into licenses. Oh, we got to have a license for this, license for that, license for that. On and on it goes. And licenses are permission slips that would things that they would be deemed illegal. Like apparently marriage. Oh, you can't get married without a license. What? You mean I have to ask permission of the state to get hooked up with my wife? Right? No, that doesn't work for me. We didn't get a license. How many things do we... let's see. What else do we got? I mean, you just keep naming it. But anytime you have fallen under licensure laws or regulations, you are now subject to strings. And my response to T. Mike, I think on the YouTube chat room channel or whatever, was I said, you know what? Licenses always come with strings. But now those strings are becoming overtly chains and then syringes. Because you're right to be concerned, Mike. If you're a trucker with your, what they call a CDL, commercial driver's license, oh, man, they got you. You want to keep that license? You've asked for permission to do a special privilege, which arguably is a regulatable activity, interstate commerce, on and on, even though that's an expansion to ridiculous levels. You get to this point where, like, they got you every which way but loose, and they say jump, you say how high, or else you're going to lose your license. Now, there is some pushback. The truckers apparently are going to go on strike. Do you know, Super Don, why they're going on strike? Was it related to the election or something else?
That's what I've seen. There's been talk about there were supposed to have been one, I think, on the 11th for Veterans Day.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how effective that was. And so it's supposed to be, I believe, between the 26th and the 29th of this month. Whether that ends up happening or not remains to be seen, but that is the rumor that's going around.
Wow. Okay. So, but to T. Mike's point, licensure, again, asking for permission, you're subjecting yourself. You're actually entering into an artificial jurisdiction. When you say they don't have the authority, it's like, no, they don't. But if you acquiesce to that authority, then you kind of are tied into all of these rules that don't operate under the Constitution or common law, but admiralty, the law of the seas, as we've talked about, where the captain makes the rules and you can't, right? You go on an airplane and he says you have to stand on your head while wearing that mask. He can throw you off if you don't, because he is the arbiter. It's not a constitutional form of government. It's not common law. That's admiralty, and that's in operation on the land in America, in many places, many countries, where you have dictators, authoritarian dictatorships or doctatorships when it comes to PhDs and MDs that are claiming masking is going to save us, even with a vaccine that they claim is now 95% effective without peer review. That's still not enough. And Super Don, as we wrap up here, the point I want to bring back on Fauci's original statements that we played today, how he said, interestingly enough, I'd still want you to wear a mask and distance because you don't know if you're one of the 5% that it doesn't work on, which brought back the idea of individuality in their claims of, oh, they're safe. But what has our argument been? What if they're not? What if you're one of the whatever? Oh, well, then that's rare. Suddenly now it doesn't matter. And he acknowledged it in the other direction. So go back and watch the show, listen to the show. We're going to take a break, be back for some bonus time here on the Robert Scott Bell Show, where the power to heal is most definitely yours. I want to thank Lauren Ameling and Jace Broadhurst from Trinity School of Natural Health. Check out all the new programs there, including my lecture on Clinical Homeopathy 101. Back with bonus time after this.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.
Scott Bell Show.
Robert Scott Bell Show.
Scott Bell Show.
Living Fuel. Upgrade your meal today. Imagine if you had a single meal which contained more protein than a half dozen organic egg whites, more fiber than 2 bowls of steel-cut organic oatmeal, more vitamin D than 10 fillets of Arctic fish, more vitamin B12 than 50 servings of raw organic cheese, more vitamin E than 1 pound of raw organic almonds, more calcium than 2 glasses of whole organic milk, more potassium than 2 organic bananas, more phytonutrients than 10 fresh organic green salads, more antioxidants than 10 bowls of fresh vine-ripe organic berries, more omega-3 than 2 cups of organic edamame, more resveratrol than 4 glasses of wine, more probiotics than 6 cups of yogurt, more enzymes than 3 whole organic papayas, more vitamin C than 7 oranges. That would cost $268.13 per meal and equal to 14,124 calories. Imagine all that nutrition in a single super meal you can afford. Now, you don't have to imagine anymore. Living Fuel, the super meal you can drink. Upgrade your meal today.
All right, here we go, y'all. Bonus time. We are in Super Don Takeover. I still was flubbing all of my words today. So embarrassing. Why did it even bother showing up today? You know what? It was interesting. This morning I had my workout, and
you're about to reveal what you did wrong.
Again, I did wrong, but I don't know if it's related.
I think it's related. Totally.
It might be. But yesterday, I'm just not eating enough. It's not like I'm hungry and not eating. I mean, and I know that's right and that's good. I know I'm not obsessing, but I don't want to be blown over with a slight breeze. But I'm all muscle. I'm just saying. That's all I got. And I'm like, try it. And so I ate a whole organic imported Italian pizza yesterday with cheese and organic pepperoni and organic mushrooms that we get, the Trader Giotto's. It's all, so it's got the organic
Sounds
wheat
good.
from Italy. It's amazing. And I ate the whole thing. No problem. Felt great. But what I didn't do, I forgot yesterday to do Cardio Miracle. And this morning I went for my workout, and man, dude, I'm struggling today. Rachel I don't know if she was extra hard on me, my trainer, but she was amazing. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, I can hardly, man. But I'm up in the yellow zone where I like to be, know I'm getting a good workout. But I definitely worked hard. But I was like, I'm not usually struggling on a Monday like that. I'm usually recovered and such. So didn't know fully what was going on. And I was like, I didn't take Cardio Miracle. Nitric oxide production makes a difference, once again. But I don't know if that played a role in my inability to speak clearly today. Sprechen Sie English, not so well. But Super Don is here to pick me up. So thank you. And so is Jace Broadhurst and Lauren Ameling today on the show. Thanks to them for being on board. So let's see what else. You talk. I've talked enough. I'm going to put some posts up.
Okay. Well, how about this? I want to give a shout out to our newest Patreon member, Meredith.
Mm-hmm.
Joined us, I think, this morning, if I'm not mistaken. So Meredith now is a member of Patreon and gets access to all of the bonus material that we've got on there, including the previous Ask Me Anythings, the lost episodes of the Robert Scott Bell Show, the downloadable chapter on lung health, the 10-episode seminar with John Rappaport, Vaccines Armed and Dangerous, and even a video of you and I singing Copacabana, which is the best part, I think.
That's the best, isn't it?
That's the best part.
So we have another one coming up on the 30th, Monday, the last Monday of November, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific.
From today, right? No.
What?
The 30th, no. 2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today, okay. All right. Yes. Yeah, don't rush me.
Sorry.
I mean, you know what? What's the point of rushing us to Christmas? It'll be canceled anyway.
Yeah.
Doofus.
I'm not even
Fauci and all that. Crazy.
All right. Also, just give you guys a sneak peek this week. Coming up tomorrow, somebody who hasn't been on the show in a long time, Brian Hooker, will be joining us.
Our buddy. Brian Hooker's back. Awesome.
Join us to
Love Brian.
talk about. He says he's been reviewing the CDC playbook on what's going on with the coronavirus, and so he wants to.
Oh man, it'll be great to hear from Brian because he's got such a perspective. I mean, I can't think like him. He's just too smart for me. But we love having him on, so that's great. Brian Hooker's coming back to the Robert Scott Bell Show.
Then we should have Ty on Wednesday like normal, Jonathan Emord on Thursday, and then on Friday, also coming back. Haven't had her on in a while, and she was a hit when she was on the last time. A lot of people had requested that we get Peggy Hall on the show. We did, and she will be returning on Friday.
Peggy's coming back?
On an hour 2, yes.
Dude, she's a rock star.
Yeah, she is.
Dude,
So
that's
Peggy
awesome.
Hall.
Way to go. Peggy Hall's back on the show on Friday, you said?
That's correct.
Okay, sweet. I'm just posting things to the censored Facebook page. Are you still posting to Parler?
Yeah.
Cool.
Parler, and I'm also
doing Gab?
Doing Gab as well. I like Gab.
Okay.
It's really slick, man, and it reminds me a lot of Facebook.
Is anybody doing Gab?
I think we've got like a couple of followers on Gab,
Okay.
but you guys can follow us on there, and may or may not expand to some other ones. I can only handle so many at one time. But at the moment I'm still in Facebook jail. I'm
risking it too because I'm posting those face mask articles.
Yeah, I've graduated. I got a week long sentence this time on Facebook. So and it sucks because it's like I can't even post my own personal one.
Mm-hmm.
I still check it, like when I get up in the morning, see what's going on, stuff like that. And then I'll come across something and it'll be like, so and so's birthday is today, and I'll go to start typing, and I'm like, oh crap, that's right.
I noticed.
I can't even do that.
By the way, Jeff, our buddy Jeff, he's telling me I should do 20 reps, heavy squats, 3 days a week, gallon of organic milk, and a dozen organic eggs a day. I agree that would help me to gain some weight. It's true. And I'm not gaunt. I don't think so. I'm all muscle, as the point is. And, I was joking. I was like, Super Don, I was asking Rach, hey, do you have any gloves that come with anabolic steroids? She's like, what? Obviously, she knew I was being absurd. And by the way, I think what is her mother-in-law's name? Mary? Mary? Are you there? Are you watching? Are you listening? I still want to know how come it took you so long to tell your daughter-in-law about the Robert Scott Bell Show. How come she had to find out about from me? Wear a T-shirt. You know what I'm saying? You still haven't answered that. Just asking. All the love is here still. Let's see. So I did have some, like a lot of times, I've talked about this, not eating until after the show because I wasn't hungry. I'm like, I'm going, nope. This morning I had the organic whole raw milk in my shaky cup and this was after I did finally, remember, okay, today I'm doing my cardio miracle, but I had the living fuel. I had some green super powder on top of that. I had a protein powder. And so I'm like going, and then I did have eggs. And so I'm doing a concerted effort to see what I can do to build a little bit back up. But my wife says you're being silly. And I agree. I probably am. Because it's all about me, right? This is all about me. I don't like to talk about myself at all. Or do I? You guys figure it out. If you're tired of it, just let me know.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Jeff is on Gab. All right, good. Excellent. He's rocking it. So yeah, Bo at True Kirby on Gab. All right, so some people are using Gab. This is good.
On Parler, we are at RS Bell Media.
Okay.
And on Gab, should be the same thing, I think. Yeah, at RS Bell Media.
We still can't go live video there, but can we post our show after the fact or just link to it at this point? I mean, they don't host video.
It's just links, I think.
Just links? Okay.
I mean, I don't know about Gab. On Parler, on Parler, it had a thing where it gave you an option to try and upload video, but I couldn't get it to work. And I've noticed Parler has some bugs and some glitches in it. So, I mean, it's cool. It seems like there's a lot of people that are going there. But in my opinion, Gab is a way better platform.
You like that better?
It's not. Okay. It didn't get the big push to move to Parler like to Gab like Parler did. So anyway, that's where we are now.
Okay. All right. Listen,
we're still going to stick with Facebook as long as we can. So
yeah. Well, look, we got to reach everybody we can while we can. And I appreciate everybody's support, especially the superstar Jeff, who's just sharing us everywhere. Thank you for that. It's still a lean, mean fighting machine here with me and Super D. Although we know, if I eat enough of a turkey, I might not be as lean. We'll see what happens. We did get our organic turkey already. It's in the freezer. It's waiting. And maybe I won't share it with anybody. So if you do drive by, I may not shoot that turkey leg by a slingshot after all. You'll have to come in and eat it. Fight me for the gravy. How's that?
I like gravy.
Yeah. I'm inviting people over, but nobody's coming. I think they're afraid. So we'll see what happens.
Afraid of you?
I don't know. I mean, some people are afraid of cold weather. Some people wait until spring. I'll come visit you in spring. I'm like, okay, all right. But I'm gonna remind you. I want to wait that long, but if we have to, I want to get together with people, our friends and our family. As I said, my mom was supposed to be visiting right now, but dagnabbit, the stupid mask mandates, much less, the crazy governors that are mandating masks everywhere. And it's making it darn near impossible. The question is, Super D, if Biden wins, is there any hope at all for restoration of traveling freedom? Because that federal mask mandate, however unconstitutional it is coming down the pike. Vaccine man, on and on it goes. It becomes worse Orwellian than you can imagine Orwell has done. With Trump, I see a little bit of little
hope.
slight window of light possible. I'm not
If
saying it's a
Biden
done
wins,
deal.
There's no hope at all.
No, it's over.
Game over. Game over. What are we
Episode
going to do?
4, A New Hope. We start the rebellion.
Yes, of course there's hope. It's going to be okay.
We're doomed. We're all.
not-
No, I don't want to say that.
not
I'm just
doomed.
teasing. Look, you feel it that way. Please find somebody to hug or someone to hug you and love you and support you out of that doom and gloom scenario, because there is so much more to life than even this election. And yet it's hard some days to see it. I recognize that. I do. And I'm not, again, critiquing, criticizing anybody, judging anybody. Just want to send you all the love I got to say it'll be all right. We're going to be fine. Yeah, we might have to go through some stuff, but it takes that sometimes to strengthen us and strengthen us spiritually, which I think is the most important thing. It's ultimately all about spiritual freedom for me. And Nancy Pelosi being voted out, that'd be good too. I'll just add that into the mix. Just an aside, as an aside. Well, that'd be a fun day. All right. What else? What else we got is before we wrap up here? I know I got to get my daughter from school, but I'm still doing okay. It's very quiet here.
Crickets.
Too quiet.
I think
What
we're
are you
good.
plotting?
So we will be back tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
with Brian Hooker and the news of the day. Now,
I'm
and you know
excited.
what? We're going to cover a story that we didn't get to today.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, we decided we're gonna hold it over here about science denial.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a science denialist, Robert?
Clearly, we are the religion of science denialists.
Yes.
That we will go with. All right, so we got that. Maybe Brian Hooker wants to comment on that too as a science guy, right?
Yeah, I think you might enjoy that. We might include that with him.
We're getting a question about the link to the Mama Bear. Do you have that link up? How did you get? Because I found it on Utah Gun Exchange. That's where it was sent to me from. But maybe it appeared elsewhere. Do you know? Or can you drop the link in for?
You mean the link that you sent me?
Yeah, to that Mama Bear vitriol scenario. Yeah,
Yeah,
because that's where you pulled the video from that too, right?
Somebody's asking for it.
Yeah. A few people want to see it, so the link. So it's because it was longer than what we did, and don't play it in front of the kiddies because it's not bleeped out. I mean, there are more F-bombs than Eddie Murphy in Raw in that thing.
Yeah, she was kind of high strung. Yep. So there's a link. I just dropped it in there for you guys.
Okay. All right. There you go. Yeah, you got it. So thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. Thank you again to Lauren Ameling, to was it Jace as well, right? Broadhurst, and just your insights and your support of each other, even in disagreement. Just the spirit of support. It'd be great to be okay with people disagreeing about things. And as I said, we rarely disagree here. Super Don does exactly what I tell him and what to believe, and he doesn't have a mind of his. What was that? Just seeing if he's paying attention. I think he's chuckling. He heard that. So no, and no, he's not in trouble. Okay. We have to mock up one day where you'll be in trouble. We'll play a trick on your wife. She's not watching, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Robert's really, he's pissed. Didn't that happen? Didn't that happen on the? Did you have something like that on the Jerry Doyle show?
We did. Jerry Doyle. It was on April Fool's Day.
You did a walkout or something.
It was a walkout. We got into some silly argument. I can't remember what we concocted that we came to disagreement with, and then I insulted Jerry, and he didn't know why. And I said stuff, and then I just forget it, I'm out of here. And I walked off, and it was funny because a lot of people, they were watching us on YouTube.
Yeah.
It was a live broadcast visually as well, kind of like what we do here.
Yeah.
And so I just walked off, and I just walked out of the studio. And then Jesse, who's on the other side of the glass, he was also on camera. He agreed with me. Yeah. And then he walked out.
No,
and so Jerry was left in the studio by himself, and then he did April Fools. It was
so Jerry was in on it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It was his idea, actually.
Oh, that's great. See, that was fun. So you never know. It might be April 1st, might not be.
Thanks for the memory on that. I completely forgot about that.
I do remember watching that. That was hilarious, dude. Yeah. That was amazing. Jerry Doyle. Gosh, like I said, we miss him. Miss him terribly. But he's still in. We can feel him here with us on the show.
He made a difference.
Yeah. So, all right, with that, I'm going to take off like a hoser That's my friends in Canada. They talk like that, apparently. Bill and Ted McKenzie, wasn't it, or something? Not Ted, no. Bill and Doug. Bill and Doug.
Bob and Doug.
Dude, I'm thinking Bill and Ted, Bob and Doug. See how that works? Today has not been my best day for Sprechen Sie English. It's just not been. I'll see if I'm going to show. You know what? Brian Hooker and you can do the show tomorrow. I'll take the day off. Okay. Apparently.
No.
April Fools?
We'll all be back tomorrow.
All right, let's see what kind of music we wrap it up with today. Post-show, we'll do a shorter one since we're going long. Folks, thanks for being here, honestly. Appreciate it. Please share the show, and we'll be back tomorrow, less than 22 hours from now. Power to Heal is yours.